Unspoken table linen rules. Every 1950s mother knew that made cheap meals look elegant, strongest.
Number 11. The cloth napkin drawer. Open the drawer beside the table. Not the silver drawer. Not the junk drawer. The linen drawer.
In Jean's 1956 kitchen, it was close enough to reach while the casserole cooled and the children washed their hands.
Inside were folded cloth napkins, not arranged for a photograph, but ready for use.
Old housekeeping books treated table linens as part of household management, not luxury decoration.
A cloth napkin was not brought out only when guests arrived. It belonged to the meal. It caught fingers, protected laps, softened the table, and signaled that dinner had begun. The method was simple. Keep the napkins clean, folded, visible, and close to where they were needed. Visibility mattered. If the cloth was already in the drawer, the household did not have to decide whether to buy another pack, open another sleeve, or reach for a paper towel instead. Modern life replaced that drawer with paper napkins, paper towels, disposable dinner napkins, and shelves of guest napkins for different holidays. The broader disposable tableware business would eventually become a multi-billion-dollar category. But the old system began with one reusable square and a place to put it back. The old drawer stored a habit. The modern shelf sells refills. The napkin was not disposable because the meal was not treated as disposable. Number 10. The oilcloth protection rule. The table was protected before the plate ever arrived. In many mid-century kitchens, the everyday table had a cover that did not ask to be admired. Patterned oilcloth, coated cotton, or later vinyl tablecloths gave a kitchen table a working skin. Jean could set down a glass of milk, a bowl of potatoes, or a sticky child's elbow without treating the table like a fragile object. The rule was not fancy. Protect the surface first. Then the meal can happen without panic. The mechanism was practical barrier logic. A washable surface slowed liquid from soaking into wood, kept grease from becoming a permanent mark, and made cleanup a wipe, not a repair. The table was not replaced, restyled, or covered with something new for every meal. It was maintained. Modern industry answered the same problem differently. Disposable placemats, plastic party table covers, antibacterial wipes, themed paper runners, and one-night surfaces sold for birthdays, holidays, picnics, and easy cleanup. The idea is seductive because it solves a real problem. Nobody should pretend wiping a table after dinner is poetry. But the old system did not need the surface to be rebought every time the family used it. Protection was built into the table's rhythm. Modern cleanup sells the surface again and again. The table did not need a new skin for every supper. Number 9. The crumb brush rule. Before the wet wipe, there was the dry pass. After supper, before the dishwater, before the sink filled, before the table was washed, Jean swept the dry mess away. Breadcrumbs, salt, little flakes of pie crust, cornmeal from a serving spoon, a small brush, a tray, the side of a hand, or even the folded edge of a cloth could clear what did not need water. It sounds almost too small to matter. But that was the point. Dry mess and wet mess behave differently. Dry friction lifts crumbs. Water spreads them. Add moisture too soon, and a simple pile of crumbs becomes paste. Add a disposable wipe too soon, and one small dry mess becomes a used product. The old method separated the job into stages. First, remove what can be removed dry. Then, clean what actually needs washing. It was not a disinfecting claim. It was a table-clearing rule. Modern cleanup often starts with the wet product, paper towels, pre-moistened wipes, disinfecting cloths, scented sprays, disposable cleaning sheets. Some are useful. Some are necessary in the right place. But for a crumb on a table, the old kitchen knew the difference between dirt, food, moisture, and performance. The modern product often begins where the old method ended. He did not need a wipe for a crumb. Number 8. The stain before heat rule. The dangerous moment was not the spill. It was the heat. Tomato sauce on a tablecloth was annoying. Coffee was inconvenient. Gravy was a problem. But Jean knew the real danger came later, when the cloth met a hot iron or a hot dryer before the stain had been handled. So she inspected the cloth at the sink. Not dramatically. Not with a special kit. She looked. She rinsed. She treated what she could before laundry day turned a fresh mark into a permanent one. Textile care guidance still supports the old logic. Prompt attention and correct laundry procedure can help remove stains and extend the useful life of fabric. The mechanism is timing. Heat can make certain stains harder to remove by helping them bond more stubbornly to fibers. Once that happens, the household is no longer cleaning a spill. It is fighting a decision made too late. Modern life sells that delay back to us in bottles. Stain sprays, boosters, oxygen cleaners, laundry additives, specialty pens, pre-treat gels, and emergency products for things that old routines tried to catch early. The old rule was not a miracle. It did not save every cloth. It did something less glamorous and more useful. It put attention before damage. The bottle changed. The principle was timing. This is the first turn in the countdown. The old table was not elegant because nothing ever went wrong. It was elegant because the mistakes were visible early enough to handle. Crumbs were dry before they were smeared. Stains were noticed before heat locked them in. Cloth was stored where hands could reach it. The modern aisle did not appear because the old habit failed. It appeared because the old habit could not be sold twice. Number 7. The damp iron rule. The smell was cotton, heat, and starch. Before the Sunday cloth touched the table, it might spend a few minutes on the ironing board, still slightly damp, with Jean guiding the iron over the corners first. The cloth did not come out of the basket ready to perform. It was made ready. This was not vanity. It was textile knowledge. Moisture relaxes fibers. Heat helps set them into a smoother shape. Starch, used carefully, gives cotton or linen more body, helping the cloth lie flatter and the napkin hold a sharper fold. Mid-century laundry shells often carried familiar starch names like Niagara and Faultless, because a crisp tablecloth was not seen as a special effect. It was part of household finish. Modern life kept the desire and changed the method. Now the same promise comes through wrinkle release sprays, instant fabric refreshers, tabletop steamers, synthetic easy care finishes, and disposable table coverings that never wrinkle, because they are never expected to last. The old routine asked for time. The modern product offers speed. And sometimes, speed is useful. But something changed when maintenance became an inconvenience instead of a visible part of care. The crisp edge was not luxury. It was Tuesday's labor. Number 6. The everyday cloth versus company cloth rule. Jean had 2 tablecloths in her mind, the one for daily life and the one for company. The everyday cloth could take soup, elbows, homework, and a child's glass tipped too quickly. The better cloth lived higher up, folded away for guests, holidays, church friends, or Sunday dinner when the meal needed to feel more deliberate.
Old housekeeping books treated table linens by use, not by mood board. There were cloths for breakfast, dinner, informal meals, company meals, and special occasions. The household did not need endless novelty. It needed rotation. The mechanism was simple wear management. Use one textile constantly and it ages quickly. Rotate by occasion, and the best cloth lasts longer. The everyday cloth absorbs the hard work. The company cloth preserves the signal. Modern retail often solves occasion differently. Instead of rotating durable linens, it sells seasonal paper plates, themed napkins, disposable runners, party packs, matching cups, and table decor kits. A birthday becomes one purchase. Thanksgiving becomes another. Christmas becomes another. The occasion has not disappeared. It has been converted into packaging. This rule also reminds us not to romanticize the labor. Someone had to wash, fold, store, and remember all of it. But the intelligence inside the system was real. She did not buy a theme. She opened the linen shelf. Number 5 is where the old table stops looking quaint and starts looking sharper than the modern aisle. Number 5, the cheap meal, proper table rule. This is where the replacement stops looking innocent. The dinner itself might be modest: meatloaf, potatoes, canned peas, a casserole stretched with noodles, coffee poured after the plates were cleared. But on Jean's table, a clean cloth could make that budget meal look intentional. The 1954 Betty Furness Westinghouse Cookbook, tied to the Westinghouse Home Economics Institute, belonged to an era that treated meals as systems: planning, cooking, serving, cleaning, and storing. The table was not separate from the food. It framed the food. The mechanism was visual order. A set table reduces chaos. A folded napkin, a clear place setting, and a serving dish can change how ordinary food is perceived. The meal does not become richer. It becomes respected. Modern industry now sells that feeling in pieces: disposable tableware, takeout packaging, easy entertaining kits, themed paper goods, and tablescape products. One industry estimate placed the disposable tableware market around $14 billion in 2023, with forecasts rising much higher by the next decade. That is the strange part. The old table added dignity without constantly adding purchases. The modern aisle sells atmosphere separately from the meal. The meal was cheap. The table told it not to apologize. Number 4, the mended edge rule. The first tier did not mean the cloth was finished. Jean could see it before anyone else did. A corner starting to fray, a hem loosening, a thin place where years of washing had softened the fabric. She did not always throw it away. She turned the edge, stitched it down, moved the cloth into everyday use, cut it smaller, or let it become a utility cloth when it could no longer sit at dinner. That was not sentimentality. It was maintenance logic. A fray spreads because loose fibers keep pulling away from the weave. A hem stops the damage from traveling. A patch gives weak fabric a second structure. A rotation gives an older cloth a less demanding job. Sewing booklets, home economics lessons, and Singer-era household culture all treated mending as ordinary skill, not a lifestyle statement. Modern home goods often make replacement feel easier than repair. Low-cost tablecloths, disposable covers, fast seasonal decor, and one-click shopping turn the first flaw into a reason to buy again. The object loses its second life because the purchase button is closer than the sewing basket. The old rule did not pretend everything could be saved. It simply asked one question before the trash: can this still serve? A frayed edge was a repair, not a reason to shop.
The final three are where this stops being nostalgia and starts looking like a business model.
Number 3. The paper napkin imitation rule. Number 3 is where paper learned to dress like linen. By the mid-1950s, Jean's cloth drawer had a new competitor on the store shelf, the paper napkin that did not want to look like paper. Scott Paper's Scottkin appeared in 1956 as a stronger two-ply disposable napkin with the appeal of a linen-like look. That detail matters. The product was not selling a new table. It was selling the old signal without the washing. The method was clever because the desire was real. Families wanted a neat table. Women wanted less laundry. Guests still expected something nicer than a bare hand or a torn paper square. So the disposable napkin copied the visual language of cloth: pattern, texture, fold, formality. The mechanism was imitation plus convenience. Keep the appearance of care. Remove the maintenance cycle. Use once. Throw away. Buy again. Modern retail expanded that logic into premium paper napkins, linen feel disposables, cocktail napkins, guest towels, wedding napkins, holiday prints, party packs, and full disposable table settings. The elegance did not disappear. It became recurring inventory. That is the uncomfortable truth. Paper did not win only by being practical. It won by borrowing the dignity of cloth, then making that dignity disposable. The modern aisle did not invent the look. It made the look throwaway. Number 2. The visible cleanup cost rule. The old table made cleanup visible. The modern one hides it in the trash. After dinner, Jean could see the whole cost of the meal system. The napkins went to the laundry. The cloth was checked for stains. The table was wiped. The basket filled. Later, the items returned to the drawer, folded and ready to be used again. That cycle required labor, water, soap, drying space, and time. It was not free. It was simply visible. And visibility changes behavior. When a household has to wash, dry, fold, mend, and store what it uses, it notices waste sooner. A cloth napkin with a stain is not an invisible problem. It is held in the hand. A tablecloth that needs repair does not disappear into a bag. It waits on the chair, the line, or the sewing basket. Modern cleanup often moves the cost away from the room. Paper napkins, disposable plates, wipes, plastic table covers, and trash bags let the table look finished as soon as the garbage is tied shut. But finished is not the same as gone. EPA data shows U.S. municipal solid waste rose from 88.1 million tons in 1960 to 292.4 million tons in 2018. With paper and paperboard among the largest material categories by generation. That does not mean every disposable product is foolish. Convenience can be necessary. But it does mean the old table forced the household to see what it consumed. Disposability moved the cost out of sight. The trash can became the second table. Number 1 is not just another linen rule. It is the pause modern industry had to remove. Number 1. The set the table pause. Number 1 is not the cloth. It is the pause the cloth created. Before anyone ate, Jean had to stop the room from being only a kitchen. The cloth came out. The napkins were placed. Plates met the table. Forks found their side. The serving dish arrived. Even a cheap dinner had to cross a small border before it became a meal. That pause was the hidden system underneath every rule. The 1954 Betty Furness Westinghouse cookbook came from a home economics world that treated cooking, serving, cleaning, and household order as connected parts of one domestic rhythm. Table linens belonged inside that rhythm. They were not merely pretty. They marked the transition from preparation to eating, from individual hunger to shared time, from mess to meal. The mechanism was behavioral. A visible routine slows the moment down. It gives the household a checkpoint. Are the napkins clean? Is the stain noticed? Is the table protected? Is the food being served or merely consumed? The cloth did not make the family perfect. It made the meal visible. Modern convenience often profits when that pause disappears. Takeout containers, delivery packaging, disposable plates, paper napkins, event kits, instant cleanup, and one-use table settings all shorten the distance between buying, eating, and throwing away. The disposable tableware market reached an estimated $14 billion in 2023. That is not just a product category. It is a replacement for a household pause. The past was not easier. Someone, often a woman, paid for that pause with time and labor. But the rule itself was powerful. Dinner deserved a moment before it disappeared. The tablecloth mattered because it made the meal stop being invisible.